The CDU's Armin Laschet still believes his party can negotiate its way into a coalition with the smaller parties, even though the CDU-CSU union suffered one of its worst election results in many years. His positive attitude may be misguided. Here's a look.
This place has long been a power center of German politics. From their headquarters here in Berlin, CDU leaders not only controlled their party, but for the most part, the country too. So even though they only came in second in Sunday's election, many in the CDU couldn't imagine a government without them. And party leader Armin Laschet staked his party's claim to power.
This
is why we will do everything we can to form a German government led by the Christian Democratic Union. Because Germany now needs a coalition government that can modernize the country.
But not long after that, reality started to sink in for some. And unrest grew within the party, openly voiced by state leaders from eastern Germany, where the party lost big time against the far right.
The attitude that we will just carry on as before will lead to disaster. That's why we now need to pause and think.
For some, that is not enough. Among the party's members, calls for Laschet's resignation have emerged. And the majority of Germans agree. In the latest polls, only 12% say Armin Laschet should become Chancellor, and 51% say he should not even stay as party leader. So less than 24 hours later, Laschet backed down.
We don't have a right to form a government. Whoever comes second can't claim that. But it is a situation where one party has 24% and the other 25%. That's a situation that Germany has never seen before. And all of Europe is watching closely. We have to show that Germany will be able to form a stable government.
But with a power struggle in his party looming, it is becoming even less likely that the CDU will be able to become a part of that.
And for more, we are joined now by Rüdiger Kruse. He is a member of the CDU, but failed to get re-elected to his seat in Germany's parliament this weekend. Mr. Kruse, thank you so much for joining us here on DW News. Who do you blame for your party's historic loss?
I think it was this 2 years of quarrels within my party that made us a lame duck in this election.
Did you choose the wrong candidate?
No, I don't believe that. I think Mr. Laschet is a very good candidate, but it was too late, and we never stopped the discussion in the party. And if you are not united, you are not likely to win. And now we have the situation that we have two parties around 25%, and we will have to see what is coming up.
You say he's a good candidate, but ultimately, I mean, he was not the most popular choice. It has to be acknowledged. And now he is saying that he still wants to build, and I'm quoting him here, a coalition of the future. How can he possibly do that with this party's poor election results? And there are even reports of party members calling for him to step down. Is he out of touch, and should he step down?
First of all, you always have friends in your party that might call for you to step down. And Willy Brandt started his career as a chancellor, and he was 3.5 behind the Christian Democrats. So, I mean, 1.5 to be ahead is not very much. And we need a coalition. We are not voting for a president like in France or the US. And the question is, who's going to form a coalition? And I do believe that for this country, a coalition between those who are very interested in the environment, in climate protection, and those who do care for the economy would be good.
But ultimately, I mean, what needs to be acknowledged is not only the raw numbers that you have quoted there, but the numbers of voters who have migrated away from your party. You got 9% less of the vote, we have to mention, since the last election back in 2017. Some 2 million voters, in fact, migrated toward the SPD. Bild, you know, one of the leading dailies here in Germany, has said, why is Laschet not congratulating Scholz despite the SPD's victory. Do they have a point?
No, they don't have a point because it's not so amazing. I mean, he did have a good run in the end, Olaf Scholz, but it's not a triumph. I mean, he is 1.5 ahead of us. And if he is able to form a coalition, go ahead. But we shouldn't say we are not willing to take part, because our part in our country is to serve the state. And if there's a coalition of the future, this would be good.
Speaking of the future, I mean, as we've mentioned, both of the main parties now, yourself, the Conservatives, and the SPD, you're wooing the two smaller parties, the FDP and the Greens, in the hope of building a coalition. But, you know, under your leadership, under the Conservatives' leadership, you already failed to bring these two parties together back in 2017. Why should voters trust that you can do it now?
Last time the problem was that the Liberals and the Greens didn't came to an agreement, so it was difficult to form a coalition. But I think this time it will be that the Greens and the Liberals will find a good way together, and then they will have talks with the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats, and I do believe that we can make the better offer.
Rüdiger Kruse of the CDU, thank you so much for joining us here on DW News, for your time at this critical time for your party. We appreciate it.
Thank you.